Have you ever felt a type of tiredness that, you know, sleep just doesn't seem to touch?
Mm.
I'm not talking about the I stayed up too late kind of tired.
Hmm.
It's it's more of a bone-deep weariness
Yeah.
where your brain feels like it's wading through wet cement and just thinking about answering one more email makes you want to crawl into your desk.
It's a feeling that goes way beyond just physical fatigue. It's like a systemic shutdown. And, a lot of people assume it's just standard burnout.
Right.
They think, okay, I've worked too hard. I'll take a week off, go to the beach, and I'll be fine. But then they do that and they come back feeling exactly the same.
Or even worse
Or the
sometimes.
worse.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that is the mystery we are digging into today. We're exploring a concept that is finally getting some attention, but is still massively misunderstood, especially at work.
We're talking about autistic burnout.
Yeah, and the big question is, what happens when your work environment is just fundamentally at odds with how your brain is wired?
And we should clarify this right at the top because it's so important. Autistic burnout is not just having a bad week. It's a state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion.
Okay.
It's caused by the chronic stress of trying to meet demands that just don't match your needs. It's what happens when you spend your life trying to function in a world that wasn't really designed for you.
We're basing this deep dive today on a really comprehensive guide from the HeyASD editorial team. And what I love about this source is that it's so focused on lived autistic experiences, which is key. It's not just clinical observation. It's from the perspective of people who have actually been there.
Yeah, and that brings a level of nuance you just don't get from medical textbooks,
Yeah.
The medical side can sometimes focus on deficits, but this guide really gets into the mechanics of why the system is crashing.
So our mission today is to uncover what this burnout actually looks like at work, why it's so different from regular burnout, and, maybe most importantly, how to recover.
And a little spoiler here, the recovery strategy is probably the exact opposite of what you've been told to do your whole life.
That's a great hook. So let's start with the why. Why does this happen? Because I think we all just assume burnout is about volume. Too many meetings, 60-hour weeks.
Well, sure, a high workload doesn't help anyone, but with autistic burnout, the core problem isn't necessarily volume, it's mismatch.
Mismatch.
Yeah, it's about the energy cost of just existing in a neurotypical world. The autistic brain is just processing information differently.
So it's not the work itself, it's the environment the work happens in.
Precisely. Let's compare it to regular burnout. That's usually caused by external stressors, right? Deadlines, a tough project. The fix is usually rest.
You recharge your batteries.
Exactly. The battery is healthy, it's just empty. But in autistic burnout, the battery isn't just empty. The charging port is broken. The burnout is caused by the constant pressure to hide your autistic traits and manage all this sensory input that feels, aggressive to your nervous system. A vacation doesn't fix that.
Because you just come right back to the same environment.
You come right back to it.
Right.
It's like pouring water into a bucket with a giant hole in the bottom.
That's a perfect image for it. And what's the biggest hole in that bucket?
It's something called masking.
Oh, this is a huge concept. The guide calls it camouflaging, and it's like the heavy lifter of burnout. Yeah. Can we break down what that actually means? It's not just being polite, right?
Oh, not at all. We have to break this down. Masking is essentially, it's the manual operation of social interaction. If you're neurotypical, a lot of this stuff is on autopilot.
Right, it's intuitive.
You don't consciously think, okay, I need to look at their eyes for 3 seconds, then look away, now nod to show I'm listening. You just do it.
Yeah.
For many autistic people, that autopilot doesn't exist.
So they're flying the plane manually.
Constantly. They're analyzing tone of voice, calculating the right facial expression, suppressing the urge to fidget, and literally scripting their responses in real time.
That sounds absolutely exhausting. It's like you're in a play, but you don't have the script.
And the audience is judging you constantly.
Yeah, and the source points out that this constant acting just drains your executive function. The energy you're supposed to be using for your actual job, it's all going toward managing your persona.
And it's also physical, right? The guide mentions suppressing stimming, those self-soothing behaviors.
Yes. Imagine you have a natural way to regulate your stress, like tapping your fingers or rocking. And you have to consciously stop yourself from doing it for 8 hours because it looks unprofessional.
You're taking away your own safety valve.
While the pressure is building up, over time, this leads to this profound disconnect from who you actually are.
Wow. And that's just the internal struggle. The guide calls the environment the invisible assault.
Yes. I found this section fascinating because it lists these workplace triggers that most people wouldn't even notice.
Right. Like, a neurotypical brain will filter out the hum of the air conditioner after a few minutes. It just becomes white noise. But for an autistic nervous system, there is no filter. The flickering of a fluorescent light, the sound of a coworker typing 3 desks away, the smell of someone's perfume.
It's all coming at the same volume.
All at the same intensity. So it's not just annoying, it's a sensory attack. It keeps the body in a state of high alert.
Fight or flight.
Constantly, just sitting at your desk. Your cortisol is spiked. That is biologically expensive. It just burns through your energy.
That is such a key point for managers to get. If an employee says the lights are bothering them, they're not being difficult.
Their brain is literally processing that light as a threat. And then on top of all that, you have the emotional labor of just decoding social cues.
Oh, the vague feedback. Just make it pop.
Yes. Or trying to figure out if your boss is being sarcastic or friendly. For an autistic person, that's often a manual cognitive process. It's constant data analysis.
It's like everyone else is speaking their native language and you're frantically flipping through a translation dictionary.
Precisely. And by the end of the day, there's just nothing left. The tank is imploded.
So, we have the masking, the sensory assault, the decoding. How does this actually show up at work? Because the guide makes a great point that to a manager, it can just look like laziness.
And that's the tragedy of it. The symptoms are so often misinterpreted as a drop in competence or a bad attitude.
So what are the actual signals? Physically, it's that deep exhaustion we started with.
Right. Waking up tired, trouble falling asleep because the brain won't shut down. And a weakened immune system is a big one. You catch every single cold that goes around the office.
And mentally. The guide describes brain fog as feeling like your mind is stuck in deep mud.
It's a huge drop in executive function. Suddenly, simple tasks, sending an email, organizing a file, they feel impossible. You can even experience a loss of skills.
Wait, loss of skill? Like you actually forget how to do things.
Yes, exactly. It's called skill regression. You literally cannot access things you could do a month ago. It's terrifying for the person experiencing it.
And emotionally, it's not just sadness, is it?
No, it's often numbness. Feeling empty, distant. It's a form of dissociation, really. A way to protect yourself.
And at work, this shows up as withdrawal. This is where that bad attitude label comes from.
Exactly. You skip the team lunches. You delay your email replies. This isn't rudeness. The guide is clear on this. It's survival mode. You're conserving every last ounce of energy.
And if you can't conserve energy, if you're pushed past that point, that's when you get to shutdowns or meltdowns.
Right. And it's important to know the difference. A shutdown is internal.
Okay.
You might go mute, stare into space, feel like you can't move. The system is going offline to protect itself. It's an implosion.
Ours is a meltdown.
Which is an explosion, an external release of all that built-up pressure. Crying, yelling. In a workplace that's obviously very stigmatized, it's seen as a tantrum, but it's not a choice. It's a reflex.
So let's say a listener is nodding along right now thinking, this is me. Then the standard advice starts rolling in. You need yoga, go out with friends, take up a new hobby.
And that is what the guide calls the recovery trap.
Why does that advice fail so badly here?
It fails because neurotypical recovery often involves adding things to your life. Socializing, new activities, exercise classes.
Like active pursuits.
But if you're in autistic burnout, your battery is at 0. Socializing is draining. It requires masking. A new hobby requires executive function, which is what's depleted. Even meditation can be stressful.
So, if neurotypical recovery is about addition, neurodivergent recovery is about
subtraction. It's not about what you can add to your life. It's about what you can remove. It's about aggressively reducing demands.
That is such a powerful shift. So what does that look like? The guide has this blueprint for recovery and makes the point that the goal isn't to get back to business as usual.
No, because business as usual is what broke you. The goal is to build a sustainable new normal.
I like that. They have a support toolkit with some practical items.
Yeah, simple but vital things. First, sensory aids. Noise-canceling headphones, sunglasses for harsh lights, weighted blankets, comfortable clothes.
The guide even mentions tag-free clothes. It seems so small, but I guess it all adds up.
It all adds up. Every little irritation is a drain. Then there's energy accounting.
Like a budget for your energy.
Exactly. You use a journal to track what drains you versus what restores you. You might realize a 30-minute Zoom call costs as much as 4 hours of solo work. Then you can budget your energy better.
And having a trusted person to talk to.
Someone who gets it.
Yeah.
Who can validate what you're feeling instead of telling you to just push through it.
Okay, so you've got your toolkit. What's the process? The guide has 5 steps.
Right. Step 1 is acknowledge. You have to name it. This is autistic burnout. That's how you stop the self-blame. You aren't broken, you're burned out.
Step 2?
Rest and unmask. This is the hardest one for a lot of people. It means deep rest, like literally doing nothing and allowing yourself to unmask. Let yourself stim.
That sounds dangerous if you've been masking for decades.
It feels that way at first, but it's essential. Then, step 3, adjust. This is where you reduce demands. Maybe it's ordering takeout instead of cooking.
Or changing your work environment.
Exactly. And finally, you connect and maintain. Connect with other neurodivergent people. That Me Too moment is so powerful. And then maintain your new boundaries. Don't just jump back into the fire.
Which brings us to the big question. How do you actually ask for this stuff at work? A lot of people can't just quit their job.
The advice here is really tactical. Focus on solutions, not the diagnosis. You don't have to disclose that you're autistic if you're not comfortable with it.
So instead of saying, I have autism, so I need this,
You say, I find I can produce much higher quality work when I have a quiet environment. Would it be possible for me to wear headphones during my focus time?
I see. You frame it around productivity. You speak their language.
Exactly. I want to do my best work for you. What are some other ones?
Written instructions are a big one. It reduces the load on your working memory, which gets so glitchy during burnout.
Huge. And flexible schedules. Asking to shift your hours to avoid that peak commute traffic. A commute is a sensory nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. The unpredictability alone is a drain.
And another one for today's world. Being exempt from camera-on requirements in video calls.
Yes. The camera fatigue is so real.
Being on camera is a performance. You're constantly monitoring your own face. Being able to turn it off is like a little masking break.
It is amazing how these small changes can basically save someone's career.
It just changes the energy equation. You get to use your energy for your actual work instead of just fighting the environment.
So as we wrap up, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that this kind of burnout isn't a failure. It's not a weakness.
No. It's a signal, a very loud signal from your body that the environment, not the person, needs to change. It's your nervous system screaming that it doesn't feel safe.
And we have to mention the reality check from the source.
Mm.
This isn't a quick fix. You don't do these 5 steps over a weekend and you're good to go.
Not at all. That is so critical to understand. Recovery's slow. We're talking months, maybe even years. You cannot rush your nervous system into feeling safe again.
That's a tough pill to swallow in our get-it-done-yesterday world. But it's the truth.
It is. Pushing through only leads to a worse crash down the line.
You know, what's really interesting is that even though we're talking about autistic burnout, there's a lesson here for everyone. We all spend so much time asking, what's wrong with me? Why am I so tired?
When we should be asking, what do I need?
Exactly. What if we all just stopped fighting our own brains and started shaping our work lives around what we actually need to function well?
What if during onboarding, the question wasn't, are you a team player, but what environment do you need to do your best work?
That would be a game changer. So I want to leave you, our listener, with that thought. If you stopped asking, what's wrong with me, and started asking, what do I need? What would your Monday morning look like?
It would probably look a lot quieter and a whole lot more productive.
I think you're right. That's it for this deep dive. Take care of yourselves, listen to your body, and we'll catch you next time.